Well, hello. It's time for another exciting episode of Pens in Use. This is the show where I talk about the fountain pens and inks I've been using throughout the week. So, let's dive into it. If videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens, both new and old, and at all price points, I would invite you to subscribe. And hey, I'm going to bring up I'm looking them up right now because I forgot what they are. Hey, I'm going to bring up a variety of topics. We got some religion, we got some science is messy type stuff, and a little bit about solar power. So, science is literally messy. So, I guess I don't have anything big that I'm asking you to comment on, but anyway, feel free to comment anyway. So let's take a look at some pens. These are the pens that I've been using this week. From left to right, we have a Centropen 100820, a Platinum 3776, a Parker Duofold International in the citrine finish, Lamy 2000, Sailor 1911 Ringless, a Pilot Custom 823, a Waterman's Waterman's Ideal 52, and finally a Sailor Realo. Sailor 1911 Realo. Sorry, gotta get it right. As always, oh god, that's awful. Okay, as always, I will be presenting this in my Cognitive Surplus Theory notebook. So my first pen is this Centropen 100820. This is a Czechoslovakian pen from the 1960s. So yeah, it was Czechoslovakia then. Made by Centropen, which is still in business. It has this absolutely fabulous celluloid. No branding of any kind. Open it up. Have the ink window. And then this nice nib with the only branding on the pen. It's branded ISCO. It's a 14 karat gold nib. And I have one other Centropen that's nowhere near as impressive. It's a plain black Centropen that has the same nib, and it's just as impressive. I have no nibs like this. These are stunning. The feel is so delicate. It's kind of like using a paintbrush almost. The ink in this is the last of my, you'll see this ink several times tonight, but the last of my Edelstein Onyx. The slightest pressure opens this nib up. It's just amazing. But I finally used up my bottle of Edelstein Onyx. I'm now on to Omas Black. I am slowly working my way through my bottles of ink. And, black is the color I use the most. So I've been able to whip through multiple bottles of black ink since I determined to reduce my ink collection. Black ink was an easy target. But just a beautiful pen. And it has a nice black ink. I don't have a problem with the ink. I just want less ink in the house. So, my next pen. I apologize for that horrible noise. So this is my Platinum 3776. It comes in the koi finish. I've always felt this was an attractive pen, although the celluloid has been a disappointment to me. I'm starting to see some yellowing in it too, which is another disappointment, but it could be just the nature of the material. I still think it's pretty. I've had the plastic resin that's like this, and I prefer this. Platinum 3776. This has a broad nib, which I very much enjoy. And the ink in it is Noodler's. And I had some controversy the last time I did pens in use with this ink, so we're going to address this here in a second. Noodler's Black Swan. in English. So for years, the word I would have written next would have been rose. But I had, after, how long have I had this channel? Since 2007. I'm not 100% sure when I started doing the pens, but I've been doing this channel for a long time, and I've had this ink for a long time. And last time I did pens in use, I had some comments that it's not what you're calling it, because I was calling it English Rose. That is not English Rose. Yes, it is. So it's Black Swan in English Roses. Did not know that. How long again have I been doing this? I did not know that. And so I thought, well, maybe it's just the Australian version. Black Swan in Australian Roses. So I break years and years of carefully cultivated habit to put an S on the word rose. Thank you to all my viewers who totally destroyed my interpretation of the name of this ink. I had to take last week off just to recover from the shock. I'm guessing the Black Swan is because of the shading, and then the roses is, the red. Then we get to my beautiful Parker Duofold International. So this is slightly smaller than the Centennial version. And this in particular is a beautiful finish from, I believe it's from the 1990s. And I fell in lust with this pen the instant I saw it on Proto Pens, and talked myself out of it. And then they put it up for a discount, and I said, okay. So this is a Parker Duofold. Has a medium nib on it. And the ink is some more of that Edelstein Onyx. A few of my journal entries this week in that 10-year journal were made using this pen. This is one that I had inked up a while back to show to some people who were interested in seeing some of my fountain pens. So I brought my bottle of Edelstein Onyx with me. And used the flipping thing up. I suppose it's more of a Pyrrhic victory because I'm still using it up, but hey, I have no more in the bottle. So, once these pens that you see here, because there's no more waiting to get used, once these pens you see here get used up, we're done with Edelstein Onyx. So that's another bottle out of my collection and off my shelves. This has the new black in it. This is my Lamy 2000 Extra Fine. It takes forever to use up ink in this pen. That's my one complaint about it. I like the form factor. This has been a good pen on school paper. And I suppose it does use up the ink faster on school paper. But man, when I'm on good paper, I don't like this pen as much. It's just too fine. My father has extremely small handwriting, or my brother. I feel like they would like this pen better. But not me. But on the school paper, it's perfect because I use such low-quality paper at school that it works with this. All right, so this is a pen that's actually up for, do I keep you or not? And I want to do a rodeo with this and two other pens. This is a Sailor 1911 Ringless, and it has a music nib. And unlike a lot of music nibs, Sailor's music nib has just a single slit and two tines. I originally bought this pen with the idea of using it with Sailor Gentle Epinard. One thing I didn't like with it, which turns out to be a thing with music nibs, is I have to hold it so upright that it's uncomfortable for me. So it has a music nib in it, and it has Omas gray ink. One of the differences between a music nib and a stub nib is that the music nib actually has tipping, whereas a stub nib typically does not have tipping. And of course you get a big difference between the horizontals and the verticals, as you'll see here in a moment. There you go. And of course, this is a bottle of ink that's running towards empty. And, okay, so I had some questions recently about my ink using up process. This is my last bottle of gray ink. So once this bottle of gray ink is gone, I can settle on my favorite gray ink, and I'm ready. Excuse me, I'm ready. All right, this is my Pilot Custom 823, the first expensive pen I ever bought. Has a beautiful fine nib. It's a vac filler. I've been using up the ink in it. This one is also a major journaling pen. I use this a lot for writing at home right now because I have that flipping extra fine Lamy 2000 and I don't want to confuse my fine and my extra fine. But anyway, we have a Pilot. Let's scroll this up here. Pilot Custom 823 with a fine nib. And again, my third pen. And there's one more coming yet. With Edelstein Onyx. I would say that the bulk of the ink got used up in this pen, because it is a vacuum filler, and I filled it full. This pen is always a good writer. I enjoy sitting down and journaling with this pen, writing long notes or whatever comes to my brain. I enjoy doing that with this pen. It's not a good work pen because it's a screw cap for one thing, and then you have to do this mess and a lot of stuff that I prefer the convenience of. Boop! There we go. And, I like the Lamy 2000 form factor a lot. All right, so this is a pen that was actually given to me by Chris Rapp 52 a number of years ago. He didn't realize I'd actually had gotten into vintage collecting, and he wanted to broaden my horizons and help me explore vintage. So this is a Waterman's Ideal 52. Now you might be saying, well, where's the clip? There's the rivets where the clip would have been attached. Yeah, somewhere along the line it disappeared, and it's an ugly bugger. It's had some sun or whatever. But the important thing is it still has its vintage nib and feed. And really, when it comes down to it, that's the important part of a pen. And I swear to God it was working earlier today. But I've also been writing a lot with it, so did I accidentally empty it? Yeah, I have emptied it. Let me just try pulling the lever here. Yeah, I pull the lever and nothing comes out whatsoever. So, all right. Managed to empty that pen. So you don't get to see it right this time. Moving right along. Well, maybe we'll just so you have something for in there. We'll put this Tombow 2558. And it's here to sub for the Waterman's Ideal 52. So you're just going to have to catch that one on the next go around, because that had another bit of my Edelstein Onyx in it. I feel like I had a turquoise in something. Huh. I have it recorded that the Waterman's 52 has Lamy turquoise in it, but off screen I wetted a little bit of paper towel and wiped at the nib, and it was definitely black coming off of it. And I feel like I remember writing it with black in it, so I don't know where I got that idea from, but it definitely was not Lamy turquoise in it. So we're up to the last pen. This pen got a special mention this week when I did a pens not in use. This is a Sailor 1911 Realo. So this is one of Sailor's very few piston-filling pens. I had a comment this week. I didn't have a good answer for it, and I still don't. They were concerned how thin the nib is and the fact that it's a 21 karat, and they were wondering how I write with it without bending it, and I just thought, well, I don't bend it. But I don't know. So maybe one of you can help me out. My regular use does not bend it. This has a broad nib in it. And I've never felt, there's reasons I want to get rid of it, basically because it doesn't excite me and there's other pens in my collection I like better. But I've never felt that it was particularly fragile. So this has in it Noodler's Green Cactus Eel. My whole debacle over whether it was rose or roses, or eel only has one L. Rose or roses earlier led me to look at the bottle. I've always put an umlaut over the U, but turns out on the bottle, which I didn't bring over here, there is no umlaut, so I don't know where I got the idea that it had an umlaut in it. But anyway, here we go. So I've been writing with this for a few days, not for super long. And perfectly capable writer, perfectly nice pen. It just leaves me cold. So what I'm coming down to is I did a video this week, my second in a series of pens not in use. And honestly, this is going to be on the next one I film, I think. I'm going to film a Survivor pen video with it while I have it inked. I'm going to have a Survivor pen video of the Ringless, although I'm going to have to wait till October to publish it to meet my 5-year rule. Actually, all the ones that have squirrels by their name in the video description are ones I'm going to have to film a Survivor pen. But the thing is, a lot of why I'm getting rid of pens, I want to concentrate on pens I like and enjoy. I want to concentrate on pens, maybe I don't enjoy writing with them, but for their historical value, I like to have them. There's a lot of pens in my collection I just want to get rid of. Now, some of them, I have quite the pile on my kitchen table, are low-cost pens that I bought just for a few dollars. I tried them, used them. Some were good, some were merely okay. And now I'm ready to pass them on. And I had the suggestion from one of my viewers in a comment, actually. It's turned the microphone slightly. In a comment that, I have a box of pens that I just give away. I just thought, yeah, that makes sense. So I'm going to keep a couple of them at home to give away. I've mailed pens to unsuspecting pen pals a few times. I've given pens away as Christmas presents to unsuspecting victims. And I think I'll take a few of the pens to school to give away. I keep a bottle of Pelikan 4001 Brilliant Black and Pelikan 4001 Royal Blue at school. So kids can refill from those. And, I why keep them? I don't enjoy them. They are perfectly good pens, just they fail to excite me. So, take them out of the collection. Either leave room for more pens, different pens, or leave room in my pen life to enjoy the ones that I have. So, yeah, that's kind of my idea behind this pens not in use. I don't know that I'll get too often into all the low-cost pens that I tried just once, like the free Noodler's pens that came with a bottle of ink. I probably won't do a video on those, but, I might do some videos on the different, pens I had to pay more than like $20 for. I have one or two that are quite pricey I'm giving away. Well, not giving away, that I am going to try to sell or trade. And it's always nice. I did a nice trade with ODE a few years ago. I traded a Pilot Fermo for a Lamy, Lamy 25P. I didn't like the Lamy 25P at first, but then I had a spare Lamy, what was the nib size? Medium oblique nib floating around my house for a Lamy 2000 that I snorked into that pen, and hey, all of a sudden I had a very nice pen. So I have some nice nibs floating around. Like I have some Edelstein nibs, some Gruene nibs. Let's snork these puppies into some pens, and otherwise let's get rid of some pens. So that's what I'm working on. So that was probably should have been in the me talking part, but I filmed that this weekend, and I'm only filming the pens now on Wednesday night. So there you go. So anyway, we're going to turn you back to me as of a few days ago, and talk about various other topics. So one of the things that came up this week, I was reading in the news about this pastor who ended up scamming his flock, his congregation, out of about $3 million through some kind of a cryptocurrency scam. Part of the money went to the IRS, part of the money he invested in his house, and so when asked about it, he says, I just misunderstood what God was asking me to do. Because, of course, God was asking him to do this crypto thing. I always wonder with these people, how does God contact you to say, hey, why don't you set up a cryptocurrency scheme? This is what I want you to do. Does he call him on the phone? Is it a personal visit? Does he drop in the house? How do you know this is what God wants? And how do you tell the difference between this is what God is asking me to do and this is what I want to do? You read the article and he starts talking about how God wanted them to renovate their house, which is where some of this crypto money that they scammed off the congregation went. Dear God, what color should I paint the living room? Thou shalt paint it pastel pink. Is that how it works? Or does God say, come on, you want to fix up the living room. Your wife's been after you about the dated furniture. That shag carpet's got to go. Come on, man. Is it God? Really? How do you know? Especially when it's expressing what you want to do. Is it God? I've never had God contact me and say, hey, I want you to move to North Dakota because you're just going to love it there. Believe me, just drop Pennsylvania, drop everything move to North Dakota. That's what God, am calling you to do. Never had that moment. I just decided to go on an adventure and, 20 however many years I've been teaching later, I'm still on that same adventure. I know some people talk about visions and so on. There's this nut with... Sorry, I shouldn't call her a nut. There's this prophetess with pink hair that talks about actually having visions and being taken to heaven and those kind of things, and seeing cows driving tractors and all that kind of thing. Okay, so she tells me how it's done. Other people, it's that quiet voice I hear in my head. Really? Is that quiet voice God, or is it you saying, come on, we gotta fix up the living room? Or, come on, you need another private jet. Come on, you want one. Yeah, that other minister's got a real nice private jet. You gotta have one just like it. I probably shouldn't question another person's faith, but, I mean, come on! So, anyway, I just found that whole thing interesting, because he can't get away from the, God told me to do this thing. He can't admit that, yeah, I just really wanted to fix up the house, because it's kind of getting old, and, it's time just to refresh it, and, we pulled in $3 million, and I had to give $1 million and so of it to the IRS, but, man, this $1 million or so dollars I have left is just burning a hole in my pocket. I think it's you. It's coming from you, not from God. And that it would be an important thing. How do you know where it's coming from? If you're a big believer, you also believe that there's a Satan who's going to tempt you and say, come on, paint a living room. You want to. Come on, new furniture, a couple $100,000 in renovations. You got this money. Just do it. That's, if I was Satan, I wouldn't go around being on the outside saying, come on, we're Satanists over here. Come join our satanic cult. We're going to go sacrifice a goat and maybe even have some feta cheese afterwards. No, I would get into the churches if I was Satan, if he's real. I would get into the hearts and minds of believers. Have them think they are serving God while they really are serving me. So, anyway, an interesting story. Linked it. It's in the Washington Post. So, I thought it was worth bringing up. The other big topic, and I have a small one at the end that's local. My other big topic I put there, Arno, and I'm going to butcher this name, and I looked up how to pronounce it, and I'm sitting here thinking, I forgot how to pronounce it. But I'm going to go with Arlo Penzias, just died. Now, he is one of the two men who first found evidence for the Big Bang. Now, what I found interesting about that article, and then I linked to another article also, both from NPR, what they found was actually the afterglow of the Big Bang. Big Bang is how the universe started. It's kind of a silly name, but that's what we have. And the trouble with it had always been, there'd been controversy, is the universe steady state? It's just always been like this. Fred Hoyle was an astronomer that believed that. Or was there an explosion and it's spreading and still spreading? And the whole thing was, well, if there was an explosion, there should still be the after effects of it out there. So they're using this radio telescope, and they're getting this hiss. And so, first thing they think of is, bet it's bird shit. So literally, bird shit. So they went into the telescope, scrubbed it out. It was full of bird droppings. And they used a shotgun to take care of the offending birds. And the hiss was still there. So they tried all kinds of things. And it was months and months and months trying to get rid of this darn hiss. And then it occurred to them the hiss was actually the background radiation, the I'm trying to think how to say it, like the afterglow of the Big Bang. Here was all the evidence they needed for the Big Bang. And it's not like you see on TV, because I hate this on TV. We have a disease. Oh no! We better come up with a vaccine. And, feverish night of work later, oh, we got a cure for this disease. It doesn't work that way. It sometimes takes years. It's clumsy that you make mistakes. The answer's right in front of you, and you're just like, derp, I'm doing this over here because I don't realize that's the answer. It's really, really messy in the real world. And, we don't see that in science class in high school, because how would you? How do you model that? How do you get a kid to sit patiently through problem after problem after problem and say, well, let's just try something else. You're going to love it when it finally works. No, they're teenagers. They're just like, I've had enough of this. Screw it. So science takes such a mindset of trial and error and messiness, and I don't know what's going to happen in the end. And so much of science, you never actually succeed at anything. When you look at the movie Oppenheimer came out, which I'll have to talk about one of these days, but I'm going to save it. I've got a book review I want to do. I am not a fan of Oppenheimer. I'll get into why in another video. Short version, it is boring. And I know the characters involved. I know the names. I know the science. I was very excited. I have seen several low-budget, made-for-TV movies that are better than Oppenheimer. So, anyway, back on topic. Science is messy. And it never follows a straight line. People ask, well, how'd the COVID vaccine come out so quickly? Well, it wasn't that quick, first of all. But second of all, we had developed RNA medicine already. So a lot of the groundwork had been laid by people working on something totally different. And then, hey, I bet we can apply it to this brand new virus that just womped up. So, very cool. And again, messy. So, how was penicillin discovered? Dang, my lunch is moldy. Huh. Why don't bacteria live around this mold? It's wild and it's messy. And, this is a great mind that has now passed away, and I just thought it was worth bringing this up. Short version. Okay, on the messy note, I'm just going to note that I had some visitors in my classroom last week that spoke to my physics class and my STEM class. My little town might, and I said might be getting a solar farm. There is already wind in this area, the wind towers. We might be getting a solar farm. They already have an agreement with the landowner. They have a location picked out. It's right by a substation. My town and my county have the advantage of a major power line runs through it. I remember when that power line was put in a number of years ago. Everything is in place. And so what they're doing right now is they're going through the paperwork phase, where they're going through the state and local governments to get all the permits in place in order to build the solar farm. But if they do, it's going to be quite a big one. There will be a lot of jobs to build it, and then a few jobs locally afterwards to maintain it. And the nice thing with solar is you're not building these concrete pilings deep into the ground that, what do you do with it afterwards when you take the windmill down? You're driving piles into the ground, and after the solar farm, reaches the end of its useful life, you pull them out and you're on your way, and the ground is restored. It's had a few decades to rejuvenate, and if the farmer wants to go back to farming it, go get them. If the farmer wants another solar farm, go get them. So I'm kind of excited about that whole idea. I like the idea of solar, and renewables. We need that in our mix of power. And here's a energy player coming to my little town. And the other fun thing about this is they like places like this because there's wide open space where you can put the solar farm. So I don't know. I'm just kind of excited to see it. So they talked to my high school STEM class and my physics class. I didn't want to subject them to junior high kids. So I didn't have them talk to those kids, but they talked to them a little bit about the whole process of solar farming, the basics of how solar power works, and they talked about careers in their company and how so many careers there, you don't necessarily have to have a science background. You can have a humanities background, depending on what part of the company you're working in, what division of it. They need lawyers to do all this paperwork. They need civil engineers to understand the ground and, how to place the pilings. And not all jobs require a college degree. Some of the, what they say, about 2/3 of the jobs do not require a 4-year degree. So, there are a lot of, there's a lot of potential there. They're also putting us in touch with a company, and they'll pay for it. It'll come to our school with supplies and training so we can do energy lessons. Now, I've always been leery. There's a course I can go to every summer. I never have on the lignite industry, which is brown coal. And you get to tour their whole operation and you get lessons to bring back. I've always been leery of that one. So I like the fact that this one is not run through this solar power company. It's somebody else. Now, again, I'm sure there's a bias there. But get some supplies and some different ideas about teaching energy might be interesting. So, anyway, we'll see what the future brings. There are a number of jobs at this company that did not exist when I graduated high school. And, that's one of the other things that always comes up in education is we're preparing them for jobs that may not even exist yet. When I graduated high school, nobody was doing what I'm doing right now, where I'm talking to you over YouTube. Now, there are people who make their living talking to you over YouTube. Not me, but I'm the idiot who decided to talk about fountain pens instead of, politics or something. So, anyway, that's my little spiel. So, I want to thank you for watching, and if videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens both new and old and at all price points, I would invite you to subscribe. And hey, what do you think of the solar industry? Definitely an untapped resource. Or, the process of science, or how people hear God. Let us know down in the comments. So I'm not sure what road I'm putting up here at the end, but I'll put it on the video description. So I want to thank you for watching. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.